Welcome back to We Are Better Together, the space where we talk about real relationships, real conversations, and real connections. I'm your host, Deneen, and
Yes,
Sierrah is
I'm
the co host.
Sierra. Yes.
And today, we have a powerful conversation lined up. We're sitting down with a man whose life reads like a masterclass in leadership, discipline, education, and love. A retired command sergeant major, a scholar with multiple degrees, and a grandfather who stepped up to raise his grandson. So, Command Sergeant Major, welcome to Better Together. We're honored to have you today.
It's an
Sierrah.
honor to be here. You know, I don't really get an opportunity to spend time with you and your sister, but it's great.
Yeah, we're great. We're thankful to have you here today. Today's our final episode for June, which is we're focusing on men and fathers. So I'm sure you'll give some good perspective for us.
Mm-hmm. And I guess we're diving into something a little different today. We're talking about a man's perspective on communication and connection.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so we're going to do it. I guess what we're going to start off with, I guess I just wanted to remind people that, yeah, we talk a lot about mother-daughter dynamics, but today we're widening the lens. We want to explore how men communicate, how they connect, and what wisdom they carry that sometimes goes unheard. So we're excited that be able to give us his perspective on a lot of those things. So what we want to do is we want to start out with you, Command Sergeant Major, to give us some background, share with us some things that you want to about your career, about, just how you were able to get to where you are today. Give us what you want to share.
Well, starting with the career, when I first started out, I was, just wanted to jump out the planes and all that good stuff. So I didn't start out with the job that I ended up with because they was trying to push us towards the airborne infantry thing, and that's what I did. Then when it came time to re-enlist, after the first son looked at my scores, he couldn't understand why I was infantry. And so then that's when I realized, that's when they sent me over to, I decided to become a CBRN guy, chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and explosive. So, so I had to be retrained. I'm looking at your sister face. She was like, "What? Yeah, I used to deal with all that stuff." Well, they teach you how to make bombs and all that type stuff, So, if want to get on my nerves, the car blow up. I ain't had nothing to do with it. But and I went in that field. When I went in that field at that time, 22 years old, 800 years ago, it wasn't a whole lot of people of color in that field. I guess that's politically correct.
Yes.
There wasn't a whole lot of people of color in that career.
It's true.
So the people above us, you didn't see anybody that looked like me at that time above us. So, you had to work hard. We always got the jobs that other people didn't want to do, and we had to do the extra stuff. Like for myself, I had to get my education. I had to, go to airborne school, air assault school, drill sergeant school, and, those extra schools just so this next person standing beside me to get promoted, just like I got promoted, and all they had on their uniform was U.S. Army and name tag. So my grandfather used to say, we used to have to do 3 times as much just to get what they get regular, and it was definitely like that in the chemical corps. It really was. And, all the people of color, they was all decorated on their uniforms. And the ones who that didn't look like me were getting promoted, but their uniforms didn't look like ours. But it didn't matter. By the time I got up in ranks, it was a plethora of us up there, male and females. That was another thing you didn't see. Didn't see a lot of females up there in the upper ranks, And, as I was going up the ranks, I was dragging as many folk as I could up with me, because I saw how they, but I had a platoon sergeant and he just had an issue with females. Because, before the Army was split, you had the Women's Army Corps and then you had the regular Army, And when we merged, a lot of those old guys, Vietnam era, they was in charge at that time. They had issues with it, with females being with us. One of the best leaders I had was a female named Sergeant Singleton. She was the reason why there was a Command Sergeant Major Parker, because she was on point. I mean, she was razor sharp. She got out as a first sergeant. She came out on the list to make sergeant major, but she got out. She wanted to be with her family, and she got a government job. If she didn't have children, she would have probably been the regimental command sergeant major. She was awesome.
That's good stuff. That is real good stuff. So I guess this is where we're going to start. We're going to just start with your personal philosophy on communication. So let's start here. What do you think about communication as a man, and what values guide you the most?
Okay, the values that guide me the most is really integrity. I always told my children, look, if you tell me the truth, you're going to get punished because what you did was wrong. But hey, that's my cousin Marvin Parker. He made E9 as well. Nice. And he in the Air Force. He made E9 in the Air Force. I think he's the first black E9 in the Air Force we got from Annapolis. Wow. And when I would tell him that, so if you had an issue or you did something wrong and you told me, still got punished, but it was light. If I had to go and figure it out, then you got the full bloom. So as long as I tell my soldiers, as long as you tell me the truth. I get case in point. I had a soldier, right? The guy came from, he grew up in an orphanage. So when you're 18, you age up. So he got out the orphanage. He was from Chicago. And so he's sitting up there driving to Missouri because they're only a couple hours. That line is right there. So he drove to Missouri to work in the car plant. While he was in Missouri, his so-called friend went to his house, raped his wife, and beat his son, who was 4 years old. Wow. So of course, when he came back, he found out he did his stick rate, joined the Army. The day before he left, he went to the bar where the guy was and beat the place up. And then, put him in the hospital. And then the guy went to the hospital. So when he came to the Army, he's a good soldier too. I'm not gonna say his name. And I was a drill sergeant at the time. When the police came, they was looking for him. I called him downstairs to my office. I said, "Tell me what's going on." And he told me the truth. He did. He told me the truth. So with that, we did everything we could. Because being a man, I would have done the same thing. So we did everything we could to protect him. And he ended up getting a little bit of time. He ended up getting a little bit of time. And then he went back and fought it, got it removed from his records, came back in the Army, right? And retired as sergeant major.
Wow. So he did it. So he redeemed himself, right? He did it the right way. Just by being honest, I was just telling my daughter this earlier today that if there's one piece of advice that I would give to, all to anyone is don't cheat, don't lie, don't steal. If you live your life not trying to cheat, not lying, you are going to be okay. Because all a lie or cheating does is prolong the inevitable.
Yes.
It buys you some time without dealing with it. So it's really an avoidant thing.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah. So I think, so that's important, right? We talked about that earlier, Sierrah.
Yes. And I feel like a lot of men today, it's probably like either gender, are very afraid of conflict and afraid of repercussion from being honest. But like you said, I think integrity is really pivotal because like my mom said, it's it's better to just be upfront with what you did so we can address it and move on and know that you're an honest person opposed to trying to duck and dive and hide, because it's going to be found out either way.
Exactly. And all you're doing is digging a deeper hole that will be more difficult for you to get out of.
And people are trying to understand where you're coming from if you're honest with them, opposed to you hiding it and then all of a sudden it comes out later, and then they're like, oh, I don't know if where they're coming from with that.
Right. So yeah. So that one of the things. So is that what you tell your soldiers when you first meet your soldiers, and even your grandkids and your kids? That's the first? Is that like you take a stand on that immediately? Has that been something you communicated to them?
I always when I first, when they talk about soldiers, because I joined the army in '79. I was a young wild kid, in the military, and I grew up in the military because I went in at 19 and came out at 49. But I did things that kids do, and probably more than others. But at that time, I was one of the few people, and during that time, I had my father and my mother. A lot of my friends didn't have that. A lot of them, all they had was their mom. So I had an opportunity through the blessings of God to see what that twofold looks like, and how decisions was made as a team. Because my dad was a no nonsense guy. I mean, he rested in peace, right? Like we went to church, he stayed home look at football. Remember, football only came on Sundays back then. So, and my mom all into the church and all that other stuff, and great, a layman, So when we come home and if something needed to be said or a judgment needed to be made, you had the yin and yang. Because my dad, he was hands-on, for lack of better terminology. And then my mom would come out there and be saying, okay, Raj, before you knock the guy, because he never put his hands on my sisters, though. He still owed them some butt whippings, but he said before you take he didn't believe in putting his hands on girls. And his philosophy was he didn't want his daughters to grow up with the habit of a man putting hands on them.
See, that's good. Yeah, absolutely.
He never beat my sisters. He never did, and they deserve
it. He got it because what your parents are doing is teaching you how to be treated, right?
Absolutely.
And so in your opinion, what's the difference between the way that your mother raised the mother interacted with you and your father interacted with you? Is there any specific characteristics that you recognize?
My father was, I think, since I can always remember, always judged, made decisions when it came to me, because I was the oldest, that would affect me later on in life as being a man. Because he always started out, one day you're going to be a man. And this is why I'm doing this. Or this is why I'm telling you this. Whereas with my mom, I kind of got over because I was her firstborn. So if he said I couldn't do something when he went to work, because they work different shifts, back then parents, I go ask mom behind his back. And then, I would, and if my mother said no, she meant no. But if she said, okay, it was good to go. But if she said, we'll see, that means it was going to happen. So I used to do that a lot. I really did. You have the strong, the male portion, and he's hard. And I'm not saying my dad didn't love me, because he loved me to death. But my mom was that tender, that nurturing, that care, like when I was playing sports, I got hurt, right? And I remember I was laying on the basketball court, and out of all the people in the gym, I heard my father say, I heard his voice, I heard him say, boy, get your up. And I stood right up. I stood right up. And, and my brother was on the team too. He's like, you heard Daddy? That's the only voice I heard. And then so I go and sit down on the bench. Then my mom came down there and hugged me and said, you all right? They said, you don't have to go back in. And so it's two forms of leadership right there. My dad, in a subliminal message, don't give up, and my mom, come back there. Well, if you can't do it, you just can't do it.
I love that. I love that. Which one of your parents do you think that shaped your communication style the most?
Well, I think I took like 70, 30, 70 from my mom.
Okay.
Because like my daughters, They know they owe some butt whippings. I was like a big kid. You did what? I'm gonna tell your mother. And I'm the father. I'm the man. I'm gonna tell your mother because I wouldn't put my hands on my daughters because if I raised my voice, it would shatter them.
Right.
If I raised my voice at my son, he'd be like, oh, I ain't getting no whipping, so
Right. Right.
he's gone.
Right.
But it would shatter my girls. But and so in that aspect, I always gave my children an opportunity to explain. My
Nice.
mom did that. My dad didn't give an opportunity to explain. He wasn't that way. He like I said, he was hands-on when it came to the boys. It's 10 of us. So it was hands-on with the boys.
Wow.
And with the girls, it was like, wait till Dolores get home and he send them to their room. Mama come home from work, she tired. Where they on punishment, and I'm sitting in there talking about, they need some of that action. But with my children, especially my son, because I didn't want him to feel like, but my father don't love me. He don't beat my sisters. But on the other hand, his mother never beat him. She wouldn't put her hands on him. That's her first job. And I'd be like, well, what he do? He did this, that, and the other. So you need to go whip him. I was like, didn't you get off work early today? She used to always say, well, he's the firstborn. I know, I was there. I was there from start to finish. I don't know. He was the first one, but so she wouldn't put her hands on. But I never just hauled off and whip my children. I always sit up there and talk to them. Tell me what's going on. And then another thing I will always tell my children, I cannot stand this word right here. 2 words I can't stand: stupid and dumb. And and I used to tell my kids, you're not dumb and you're not stupid. But that was a dumb and stupid thing to do. Now your actions was that way, but you're not that way.
That's good.
And I heard my daughter telling my granddaughter that a couple years back. I was visiting them, and she was talking to her daughter, and she said that was a dumb and stupid thing to do. You're not stupid, you're not dumb, but that was a dumb and stupid thing to do. And I went back in the room. Good job. Good job.
Go ahead, Sierrah.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, how many? So you have 9 siblings?
Yes.
How many girls and how many boys?
It's 5 to 5.
Wow, perfect split. That's wild. And then
what's wild?
Yeah.
My dad started off with a son, and the last one is a son.
Wow.
Everybody else is in between. That's why my youngest brother's so spoiled. I can't stand him. He's spoiled to this day. 50 years old.
What's the age gap? Like so you're the oldest?
Oldest.
And then how old? And then the youngest, what's the age difference?
Brian is 50 and I'm 66.
16 years in between.
Wow.
What about you and the next one? Like you're the oldest, and then who came next? I mean, how many years?
My sister Faith is 1.5 years.
She's only 1.5 years after you.
Yeah.
We were talking about this before. We're talking about birth order and how birth order affects who you are and how you operate. And so one of the things, our opinion about it, because we both are first oldest children, me and my daughter. And we were just talking about how when you're the oldest, you feel like a responsibility to the others.
Oh, absolutely.
To make sure that they're good, right? Is that how you feel the same way?
I'm gonna tell you, my sisters used to play me, because when I wasn't playing sports in school, I worked in the summer. Like, D, up here, everybody had summer jobs.
Yes, thank God.
Yeah, because with me, I had 2. I worked at the Navy Academy doing that. That's my cousin again. My mom pretty much raised him and his 2 siblings. My mom pretty much raised them, and that's a story for another time.
That's what she's talking about. 3, add 3 more to it.
Add
oh my God, what a woman!
Yeah. And so they came from the other side because their name Parker. My mom maiden name is Hunt. So I worked at the Navy Academy washing dishes during the week, and I worked at Maryland Inn on the weekends washing dishes during the summer. I was a professional dishwasher. So when my sisters, wanted to go somewhere, my dad would only give them a couple dollars, like $2. My room was in the basement, so they come in the basement and say we going on this trip or whatever, and I give them $20 a piece, which was a lot of money back then.
Yeah, wow.
They did that all the time. They ate me up. They did that all the time. I just keep my money in a little cigar box. I go up in there and pull it out. I say, "Here, get out my room," because they're gonna keep talking to me.
So you had to work for your money, but they had you as a
piggy bank.
Yes. I always feel like that. Matter of fact, one time my sister called me on my phone. This is back when you had the answering machine, where when you left a message, you could hear, you had to play it back. And my sister called me on the phone. She left the message, and she said, Nene, she said, I need to get some money from the bank, and you're the bank. I won't ever forget that. Tracy said, "You're the bank," and you know what? I actually internalized that in a good way. I always thought about it. I was like, she said I was the bank, so I'm always going to be the bank, which means I'm always going to be a lender and not a borrower.
Boom, and that's the way I felt. I felt, like, I don't want to put their business out there, but I've given a lot of money. I paid for trips. I paid for proms after my children was grown. Some came up short, and the school was taking a school trip and needed $1,000. I sent it, but and never asked for it back. Somebody was getting ready to lose their house. I sent $8,000, never asked for it back. But because I always felt, just like you said, D, because I was the oldest. And then when my dad left, so now I'm because my father's gone.
Right.
All my father's brothers gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the oldest Parker.
Right.
So now more has fallen on me, because now I have to step up and take Dad's spot, because my father was the oldest out of all his siblings. And now I don't really have to do a lot of things for my cousins, but it made me more inclined to do things for my family. But I say my prayers every night, and I pray for all my friends, you included, D. And every night I say my prayers. And I thank God every night that I was financially able to do that.
Exactly. Blessed
not
to be
being braggadocious about money. I'm not rich or anything. But, if somebody need 2 or 3,
blessed to be a blessing. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I think that a lot of people lose sight of that, because God only gives you excess. You get the full cup, and then anything that comes over you're supposed to be blessing. So, that means your cup is running over. So yeah, we're all blessed to be a blessing. So that's good stuff. Sierrah, you have anything?
I from personal experience about the younger siblings using you as a piggy bank, I do want to say you guys are kind of lucky, because at least they kind of had to ask you for the money. Grant, he just logs into my Apple account. He'll just like, I'm just gonna have a random app that costs $29.99 a month and hope Sierrah doesn't notice, and I never noticed. So,
that's the new generation, right? The new generation, like before, just like you said, Roger, you had to go into your little pocket and give them what this new generation. I mean, there's too many ways that they can get in your pocket.
Yeah,
you allow them. Obviously, Sierrah's okay with it, but if you allow, so now they got it too easy now, for sure.
Yeah, right? it's so easy, but
she got part of that. She got that older sibling. My grandfather used to call it. You the oldest, right? Yes, sir. He said, yeah, you're going to have that oldest sibling disease. I got it too. And I'm like, I didn't understand what he was talking about, because I was like 12. So, that's about 7,000 years ago. But I understand now, because he was the oldest. So, every time somebody needs something, and
you got to be there for him. But what about now? See, this is one of the things I get from being an oldest sibling. Do you get like a reverence from them? Because my siblings, they love me. I mean, they treat me right. I mean, they really do. They resent me at times because I tell them what I need to tell them, but they really do treat me with respect, and I really do appreciate that. Do you get that from your siblings?
I don't think, and I get that. And I don't think they ever got over the fact that we are grown, because we are 50 plus. I mean,
Right.
another 4 years, I'm 70, because they still call me for, my sister's not married.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime it's, for lack of better terminology, it's a man thing,
Mm-hmm.
or they need some advice,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's been forever. My sisters used to call me, and I was overseas. The
Right.
phone ring, I picked the phone up. I'm thinking it's the unit. I'm already getting dressed. I picked the phone up. I'm putting my uniform on, got my pants on, and it's one of them. They don't
Mm-hmm.
call me at 3 o'clock in the morning because they didn't understand the time difference. Because we 6 hours ahead at that time. I was stationed in Holland, but I've never, I always felt like it was a blessing to be the oldest sibling, even when I
Yeah.
was small. I always said, my sisters, they would tell you, and my brothers, even my brother Brian, grown, doing extremely well, 600 some $1,000 house, BMWs, pooling. I mean, he got it laid out. Call me on the phone, big bro. I know it's him because he don't want to call me that. Big bro, not for money, not for money, but for advice, even now. And it feels good to have my head screwed on tight enough to be able to help them out, and even my nieces and stuff. Of course, my grandkids call, and it's always about dollar bill, but it's never for, hey, I want to go on this trip, I want to get this for my car. I got the one that's in college. I got my grandson, he is in college as well. But the one in Georgia, if she called, that's what I love about her. She has exhausted everything.
Right.
Because she's going to school, she working 2 jobs, she was running track. She told me she's gonna give that up because it was too much. She got her own little place that she paid for because she didn't want to live in the dorms. And she got a little car, so sometimes it catch up with her.
Right.
She'll hit me up. And the thing about her, I never have to ask her to give me the money back.
Mm-hmm.
I look at my phone, it's a Zelle.
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. Exactly. Because people know, you've been kind to them. And I that's what I tell my siblings. I don't ask you to pay me back, but when you pay me back, that means you're creating a surplus for yourself, really. Because every time you pay me back, I means I got something extra for you for the next time because you know who you are. So that's why it's important for, to just kind of acknowledge and let people know you appreciate them. But you know what I wanted to ask you just a couple questions about, because you're used to being the leader, because, you're used to being the go-to. How do you make sure that people feel heard when you're the person that normally has all the information? So what do you do when people call you? Do you automatically just give them advice, or what is the interaction that you have?
Well, what I do, and you're right, I've been in charge of people since I was 21. I've been telling grown men what to do since I was 21. That's why when I got out the Army, I had all these job offers, and every time they tell me you're gonna be in charge, click.
Nope.
That's it. I ain't want to do that. And I'm gonna circle back to what you said, but I want to say that I had a job offer in Hawaii. Start off as $275.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I flew to Hawaii with my grandson and went over there and everything. But when I got there, the job was a piece of cake. But when I saw, how many people I was gonna have to be dealing with, 800, I was like, I appreciate it. I got back on the plane, came on home. 2 weeks later, Tyrell and I flew to Japan. Had job offer in Japan. That one was $255 start off. These folk already had my name on the freaking sign when we got there. I was like, Pop, ain't that you? And I said, yeah, I didn't tell him because it was a general I worked with in the Army that I was going to take the job. So I got Tyrell all dressed up. I had him, because he was young, he's like 6. I had him put a little blazer on him and stuff. And the liaison guy took him to the school that he would be attending. Of course, he's a mixed kid. Had a little curly wavy hair, light brown eyes, had his glasses. So he's there with all these Japanese kids. So when he come home, I asked him how he like it. He said, I don't know if I want to go to that school, Papa. I say, why? He said, because when the lady wasn't looking, the girls was touching my hair. And at that time, he's 6 or 7. He ain't down with that. So and then he said, So I'm still gonna be able to go see my mom on the weekends, my mommy, because his mother live in Virginia. And so I ain't take that job because I didn't want him later on to say, I took that away from him. Yeah.
Right.
So what I do is when it comes to giving advice to anyone, first of all, thank you for thinking that my thoughts are important enough to help you make a major decision. I listen to everything they say, everything from start to finish. Now, as they are talking, I'm evaluating the situation because when they finish talking, they want to answer. And I listen to everything they say, and then I give an answer, but I never give, this is what you need to do. I never say that. I say, well, either I say, if it was me, this is what I would do. Or I say, well, based on what you said, this is what I think. So the final decision have to be on them and on them alone. Because you don't want them to say, Deneen told me to do it. No, she didn't.
Yeah.
No, she did not. And I've been in that situation before. And I say, so that's when I changed up my verbiage.
Right.
Yeah. So you can't come back and say I told you to do it.
Well, yeah, and I think go ahead, Sierra.
Oh no, I wasn't talking. That's
what I was going to say about that is, yeah, it really is important when people come to you that you handle it just like that, because you don't have the whole picture. All you have is what they're giving you, and they're not giving you everything that is involved in it. So you can't really give them some good advice because you can only give them what you would do based on the information. So I think that's a good way of handling it.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like you have to figure out what they're expecting from you and what they want from you, and what are they truly looking for, like a solution, advice, like just some like commentary or someone just to listen to. I think that's a big piece because I'm a person as well that a lot of people come to me for advice. Even strangers in bathrooms come up to me all the time. Ladies at workout classes. It's really wild. So, and like you said, it's like being a good listener is always a good component to it.
Absolutely. I also wanted to just say that when I was thinking about you and your siblings, and your cousins, that studies have shown that people who have good relationships are happier than people who don't. So yes. The only reason why you have good interactions with them, the only reason why your heart is out to them is because you have relationships with them. It doesn't mean that we're singing Kumbaya all the time. It just means that you're interacting with them. You have some connections with them, and when you have connections with people, you're more likely to have a heart for them. And so I think it's important for us to just remind people that you need to develop relationships with people. Meaningful relationships makes all the difference in your life.
Yeah, and because sometimes I let them know I tell them you're close to the zone. And I mean, the zone mean I'm gonna choke you out, so you're close to the zone. Don't put yourself in the zone. I'm not bragging or anything, but I work out a lot. I'm 6 feet, 228 pounds. I'm not an easy guy to move, so, once I get you in that chokehold, but I never have to do that anything, with my grandchildren, even the oldest one, I've never, had to, and I raised my grandson. I had him since he was 18 months. He's 24 now. And all I had to do was fake, and it would destroy his world. What? It destroy his whole world. So I never even touched him. And now I see that this switch, little personal thing, a couple years back, I almost died. So I'm a diabetic. I caught COVID. Shot my numbers up so high, it put me in a coma. And so I was almost there. It put me in the hospital. I was in the hospital for 7 days before, got myself right. I was below high school weight. That's 169 pounds. I went from what I weigh now to 169 pounds in like a week and a half.
Wow.
And I remember I was, when they was putting all the stuff in me, because I'm in and out of consciousness. And now right 4 months earlier, my dad had passed away.
Mm.
So I remember my mom was standing on top, and I remember her saying, "We just lost your father. We can't lose you too." You know,
Wow.
and God pulled me through it. But I say that with this boy, you know, I heard somebody say, "Well, it's time for you to leave." I heard something. I didn't know it was his voice because I'm in and out, and I heard him say, "I'm not going anywhere." So when I woke up the next day, you know, he was right there, sitting right there, bent over top me, and I woke up. I see his face. Ugh. I said, "What you doing?" He said, "Pop, you all right?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well," I said, "as all right as I can be." And he went over there and sit down. And that boy wouldn't leave. He would not
Yeah,
leave.
I think
And
that when you talk about your grandkids, I feel like you know, he's a lifeline to you in the sense of, you know, giving you another purpose. I mean, like another real impactful purpose. So I think that that's what I would think. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like your grandson, you know, gave you life?
you're absolutely right, Deneen. But before I answer that question, I just want to say, because it's fresh on my mind, you know, I'm an old person, so my mind that you have done a great job with your daughter. She is so intelligent. Well, I try to tell you,
Oh,
but
thank you.
you know, you have done a great job with her. You know, now I'm gonna get back to me. She has. I had to get that out, Sierra, before I forgot.
Thank you.
Oh,
I'll take
thank
it.
Anyway,
you.
you
Yeah,
know,
we
now
like
with
that.
him,
We appreciate that.
yeah, and you could see it in her face. She looks so much like you, but younger and better. You know, she's a new version. That's how I go.
There you
You
go.
know,
That's not
you
supposed
know,
to be.
yeah,
Have
yeah. See, you know, but with him, you know, I always told him he saved my life, but I never told him why. But I'm gonna tell you.
Amen.
So, when it came time for me to get out the army, they had pushed these numbers, you know, in the computer. And so General Smith at the time, I couldn't stand him. He wanted me to stay in the army and go back to Fort McClellan. I mean, no, he wanted me to go to his praying because he was at 20th Seaburn at the time. So he was going to become a regimental commander. So what he wanted to do was send me to the desert, you know, and
Where in the desert?
Iraq. So he wanted to send
Okay.
me to Iraq and
Okay.
set up a compound. And then after that, I was going to go to Fort Leonardwood and be third Chem
Where's
Brigade,
that at?
Missouri. And I was going
Okay.
to go there and be the third Chem Brigade Sergeant. And from there, you know, when he became the regimental commander, he was going to pull me up, be the regimental command sergeant major, which means I would have been in charge of all the enlisted chemical folk in the United States Army.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why I didn't go was because I had Tyrell. Now,
Right.
if I didn't have Tyrell, I would have went. I know I would have. I would have went. And then if I went over there and didn't come back, you know, because there's no,
Right.
when
Right.
you go,
Right. You had to change your priorities, right?
yeah, you throwing the dice. So, you
Yeah.
know, but because of him, I didn't go
Mm-hmm.
because he had nobody but me. At the time,
Right.
his mom was really out there on them drugs. Not bad mouth his mom. She got herself together. She's a phlebotomist now. She got a big house. She's done extremely well. But
Right.
during that time,
Right.
things
Right.
was rough. So
Mm-hmm.
he had nobody else. And so that's why
Mm-hmm.
I told them no. I turned it down and I went on and got out because of him.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, he gave me a new leash on life, even though yesterday I was gonna kick him in his head because he's getting on my nerves back there. Because he didn't take out the trash after I told him 8 million times, right? His room looked like 8 million people was in there fighting, stuff all over the place. And I went in his room, which was my fault because he's in the corner with his game, talking to his friend, and the room was dark, and he got this junk, which caused me to step on something and fall, little
No.
knot on my head, yeah.
Oh no.
That wasn't your fault. But tell me about that, okay? Because this is a question I have about the boys or whatever. Now you've been in the military for all these years, right? And so what I know about men who have been in the military for a long time, they're quite neat and particular about their things, right? They like their things to be where they're supposed to be. So how do you deal with being in a household of people who don't value that structure like you do?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, is when he was young, he always kept his room neat. He would run
Right.
into my room and see how my room was, and he'd go back and set his room up the same way. But when the teenage years came, this other stuff came. Now here's the reason why, I don't choke him out. Is his work schedule. The boy work ethic is off the chart. He worked with 3 production companies. Earlier today he was in DC shooting a commercial. They had something MGM, the company where he went and set up the lights. Came back from that. He went straight to the mall. He works at the mall. He runs a kiosk down there. The next morning, he got from the kiosk at 9:00. Then he came home, he slept. 8:00 that morning, he's at school. He left school at 12:00, went to Virginia, and they shot a commercial down there. So he got back here about 5:00. 12:00 that night, he went to DC to shoot a commercial because he belongs to 3 production companies. He got back home 5 that morning. So I just let that be his area.
So you give him a break. On that. Now, do you feel like, let me just ask you this. Do you feel if you were doing the same things that he was doing, do you feel like you still would be able to maintain the structure that you like?
What, my room and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Keep my house clean.
Yeah.
Here's what people don't understand. Once you clean it, all you have to do is this little touch up from that point on, because, like the maintenance guy came into my apartment. He's like, Mr. Parker, he said, your place is, immaculate.
Immaculate.
He said, when you move out, we can move somebody right in.
Right.
But then they go back to his room. And then they'd be like, oh,
yeah, because I'm trying to figure out where does that come from? Like what how come he saw you, because this is what we talk about this all the time. We talk about how kids do what they see, right? We talk about that. And so I guess the question is, he's seen how, he's lived his life with you in this type of environment, yet he hasn't gotten there yet. But I think that, and I'll go back to this on the scripture that say train up a child and then they won't go astray or whatever. But I think that he's in your house, but I'd be interested to do a follow-up when he goes out into his own place and see, because they are different when they have skin in the game.
Yeah. Well, my question is, Roger, were you neat before you went into the military, or did it start in the military?
Oh no. I was always, my brother told my son the other day, he said, because my son, he live in DC. So when he come down here, certain things, you come out the bathroom, close the door, you use the toilet, pee, whatever, put the top down. If you go in there and do number 2, use the spray. Now, so when he was complaining, because my son's 44. So he's sitting down there with his uncle drinking. And so he's sitting up there complaining. And my brother said, let me stop you right there. Because they call me Rodney at home. They said, Rodney has always been like that. He said, he was like that when we were children. Because I can't operate in chaos. I just can't.
Okay.
I tried it one time. It drove me crazy. I just can't operate in chaos. I got to have, in the military, when we had those duffel bags, I don't know if they still got them now. We had to pack them a certain way. But we were trained to get dressed in total darkness. That's why I learned how to tie my shoes without looking. That's why I learned how to reach down in the bag. I could tell if I'm grabbing socks, underwear, shirt, whatever, without looking.
Wow.
I got dressed in total darkness. And I could still do that. It'd be tripping Tyrell out. He'd be like, how you just talk back there? And I come out the room fully dressed. I tie my shoes without looking because I was trained to do that, And I've always been a neat person, fold up, But the Army taught me how to fold things better, because now, I got to roll up like you open my mind to wear a drawer, everything's socks,
you know what? The question I have for that is that so when you had like soldiers coming in or whatever, do you feel like, because this is my thought process on the good soldiers. Are good soldiers, what constitutes a good soldier? And I think that people who do well in the military adapt to structure well. Whereas if they can't, if they can't be, have like be good in structure, I feel like they don't do as well. What do you think about that?
I think you're absolutely right. That's why we got a chapter unable to adapt to military life and put them out. But the with me, to me, I thought, really, to be honest with you, as you go up the ranks, it get more complicated. But in the beginning, the Army was easy. They told me what to wear, where to be, what time to be there, when I'm gonna get off, what I had to do. I didn't even have to waste my mind. It's like, hey, go take that tire off that vehicle. Hey, we going on a road march. This is what you need. And then they check your equipment before you went on the road march. Make sure you were squared away.
Easy.
But then it flipped when you the person doing all the checking. Because you got to make sure all your stuff squared away, And I mean, they was so minute. When I went to air assault school, we went on a road march. The graduation day, everybody else walked across the street. Our graduation is you go on a 10-mile road march with, I think, was 55, 60 pounds, whatever on your back. But so when you come back, right, they do a checkout. So the guy standing up there, you got to have so many packs of underwears. Hold it up.
Everything.
Put it down. Put it down. So this one guy, never forget it. We had a little bag you put in. You got your soap, your toothpaste, all that stuff in there. Toothpicks and all in there. You're supposed to have a minimum of 12 toothpicks in there. You dump the toothpicks out. He had 11. He failed. He had to do that. He had to go back and do that. Wow. He failed. So, and all that is forcing you to pay attention to detail.
Right.
So now my daughters, right? They like my especially my youngest daughter, she don't like nobody folding towels at her house by her because she fold them a certain way. My other daughter, she got the way she got her towels. Both of them was in the military. The youngest one was in the Air Force, the oldest one was in the Navy. The way she got her towels, she got like I got my towels. I got towels on one side, and then I got the washcloths on the other side, but all the washcloths on that side match the towels. But she don't do that. She got all the towels in one area. Then the next shelf got the washcloths and so on and so forth. So I messed around when I was there. I washed it. I folded up. This is my oldest daughter. And I put the washcloth across. She almost had a cow. But I didn't get upset. I didn't get upset because I was like, well, that's the way she run her house, because my granddaughter was talking about, Papa, Mama don't know. I said, I used to change your mother diaper. I ain't worried about what she said.
I have a question for you though. Tell me something that you learned the hard way.
Thinking I knew everything. Always thinking it was a better way instead of listening. Anytime when I was a young soldier, I'm getting instructions in my mind. I'm thinking it could be a better way, and sometimes it put me in a bad place. But back then they wasn't into so much Article 15s taking your right. They was into taking your time, And when you get out there and cut grass with those scissors with the black handle on them, you sitting out there cutting grass, you learn. No. I'm not talking about shears.
You're not talking about shears.
Big scissors with the black handle, those scissors.
Okay, so this was punishment.
Yeah. No, training. Reinforcement training is what they call it. Wow. That's not punishment. It's reinforcement training. Because they get around the regulations. See, you can't punish the soldier for this, that, and the other, but you can do reinforcement training. And so my friend and I were sitting out there. We each had a square we had to cut. And we sitting out there on our knees cutting with them scissors. And I looked over at Brown and I said, no, I ain't got to worry about me.
So you had to. So I think that goes back to your birth order, being the oldest or whatever. You always think that you can, do something better. So, but what did you learn? You learned that you're supposed to listen more, or what was the lesson learned?
The lesson learned was, wow, you're talking like right now. I can do that. When you say something, Deneen, I'm listening. I'm not evaluating. I'm listening. Sierrah said something. I said your name right, Sierrah?
Yes.
So, I'm listening. Back then, as you was talking, I'm already calculating a reply in my mind. If I'm already calculating a reply in my mind, I'm not fully hearing what you're saying because half my mind is somewhere else. So it drastically increased my listening skills. So now, you know, and my memory. And that kills my grandson. He said, "Well, Pop, that's not what happened." I said, "Yes, it is. You did this. You took 2 steps over there." He said, "I know you got it."
It's amazing what happens when you hone in on your listening skills, right? Me and Sierra, we're talking about this. We talk about this every week because we talk about communication, connection, and collaboration, right? And so when we talk about communication, we talk about one of the communication barriers, and one of those barriers is waiting to respond as opposed to listening.
Right.
Yes, that's what that was. So yeah, but once you start, just focusing in on what people are saying, you can respond better, as opposed to many times, like even for me, like if I cut you off and think I already have the answer, and I have the answer for that piece, but not for the entire question.
Yes.
Right.
Or even assuming what someone's going to say. Like I see this all the time where people are talking to me, or like I'm saying something to them and they'll like cut me off. And it's like, I didn't even finish my statement. You don't even know what I was going to say, but it's them just like thinking about what they're going to say next. So that's definitely something to consider. It's like always listening, and it's a good way to learn to listen better.
Absolutely.
No, I think so. I think, when I think about you, and I think about, your history and your experience, I think about how you've always had to be strong. You've always had to, be the go-to or whatever. So what have you done? Like you talk about your listening skills have gotten better, right? But are you able to be vulnerable and show, your weaknesses? I mean, is that...
That's definitely a woman question. But because I've been asked that several times by other women. My daughter, when my sister, when my brother passed away, everybody leaned on me, mom and dad included. So after I lost my brother, I lost my sister. Once again, everybody's leaning on me. Then when dad passed away, that was it. I mean, so I only cried once. That was at my brother's. Didn't get a chance to really relax because I cried with my sister because I was doing so much, making sure her house squared away, her grandson, her son, her daughter. And when dad passed away, it all fell on me because now I'm the patriarch of the family. So, and my daughter asked, "Dad, when do you get to mourn?" She said, "When do you get to show your vulnerability?" And to be honest with you, Deneen, I don't know. I've not shown it because I've always been in a situation like when we was in the desert. They would shoot missiles over top our head. And before I could get in the bunker, I had to make sure all the soldiers get in the bunker. And to this day, them soldiers talking about, I remember first Sergeant Parker telling everybody where to go, and they were shooting missiles over our head. And he said, once I got in the bunker and looked out, he was still standing out there. Well, I just felt, responsible because I didn't want to be that guy to tell somebody, parents, this is why he didn't come home.
Let me ask you this question. Who do you have in your life that makes you feel safe?
And safe in what way?
Safe, I mean, just you feel like you have a safe space, with someone. You feel like you have a safe space to be who you are, to say whatever you want to say. You feel safe in a relationship. Is that your sister? Is that your brother? Who is that? Who is that person?
It's 2 guys. Both of them I served with in the military. One guy named is Charles Gutowski. He was my executive officer when he was at 84th. The other guy, both of them I call my brothers, is a guy named Henry Covington. He's in Georgia. We was at a G14. Let's go with that because I can't talk about it. We was at a G14 job together. Mm-hmm. And those guys, they seen me because both times I was in charge when I was with them. They seen me at my high and my low. And so, and I've always could be my friend. I could always be myself around them. I actually talked to Chuck the other day because he was in Japan, and he's back now. And Henry was up here about a couple months ago. But I could always be myself around those guys. Never worried about no judgmental or anything like that. And because even with family, sometimes they could be judgmental. Even in relationship, it could be judgmental. because they'll come back later if you have an argument. Well, when you did this, you didn't see. But with those guys, I could just be myself. You know, if I want to walk around, which I don't, but walk around with raggedy underwears on, we good. You know.
Well, I know you have. I know you have that guy that you guys were in third grade together. That I know you have him, and that you can tell him anything. So I know that.
With Armin, I didn't mention Armin because that's a given. Armin is ever since I known him, he been this great guy. I mean, even when we were young, I mean, he would give you a shirt off his back. Yeah, those are the only two guys in the military, and Armin is the only guy I grew up with that I could be myself around.
Right.
He never holds anything against you. He know a lot about me. He do. I mean, third grade, high school. I mean, of course, you know a lot about somebody who I dated. When it didn't work out, heart broke. He was right there. So. But that guy will give you the shirt off his back, and he is the reason why we're actually here right now. Because
I was about to say, come on now, let's give out our flowers while we can. Yeah.
I remember when it first started, he was doing videos on his phone at the old Annapolis track. He was calling people down there to do that, and look how much this thing has grown, and it's going to continue to grow. With him. And at this show right here, you and your daughter, y'all doing a wonderful job. Outstanding. It's an honor to be here with y'all. I'm truly is.
We're trying. We're doing our best.
Your sister. I'm sorry, your sister. But
that's right. I'm not old enough to have a daughter.
Right. Not that old. Yeah. But Armin's a great guy. We've been there for each other. We've been there for each other during times of struggle.
I know he's told me he's like, he said so many wonderful things about you. I'm so glad we were able to get you on now. I know this is not our normal format, but we really felt like to end the month of June, honoring men, honoring fathers, we felt that it was fitting for us to bring you on and just share some of yourself with us. And we really appreciate it. And I'll see you all the time. Oh yeah, we really do appreciate it.
And it was great learning more about you. You had great comments, and you're very funny.
It was an honor to be here.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Yeah.
Can't be serious all the time.
No, absolutely not.
No, we appreciate it. Laughter is medicine. So that's good stuff. Yes. So thank you so much for coming on tonight. And
this cognac over here is medicine too.
All right now. Okay. But just listen, remember, we are Sierrah.
No, I'm joking.
Just remember, Roger, Sierrah, we're better together, right?
We're better together.
Absolutely. Yes. Better together. Greatly better together.
Exactly.
So I don't know who looking, but y'all need to go ahead and pay attention to this show. You got these two lovely ladies on here keeping you straight, but they kept me straight. And then you can learn a lot. You get a chance to put your opinion out there, which is very important because somebody looking at this show saying, I feel the same way.
Amen to that. And just to talk about our show next week we're going to talk about the 5 love languages. We're going to Gary Chapman, words of affirmation, acts of service. What else we got? Quality time.
Physical touch, which is all the men's. All the men.
and don't forget the gifts. That's the easy one for the men.
What is it? You say the 5 love languages. What is that? Cognac, gin, wine, or
hypnotic.
Good night.
What she said hypnotic. I ain't even gonna mess with you.
We'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and congratulations to Legends from the Past getting their 800,000 subscribers. We appreciate all of you.
Look at God. Thank you.